Nearly 2 years after making the third ever video on this channel, I am so close to having something new to talk about. So here's everything we know about Carnby Kim's newest work so far. Is it related to Sweet Home? No. No, it is not. And please, if you're only going to take away one thing from this video, let it be this. He's stated it's a different series with a totally unrelated plot. Every single comment section on his account is full of people begging for it to be a sequel. Open your eyes, guys. This isn't it, and it's probably not ever happening. Sweet Home isn't even the best Carnby has to offer. This upcoming story feels much similar to his older style works, including my favorite / the one I can't name in the first 2 minutes of a YouTube video. Now that you know this, please stop regurgitating the same thing over and over again in his comments and be very supportive of his new series, because I never want this man to quit writing. That out of the way, let's get into the actually important stuff. For this one, Carnby is once again working with the artist Yongchan Huang. He is the same artist that worked on my favorite series and also Sweet Home. No, I hear what you're thinking, but that does not mean this new work is related to Sweet Home. Remember, the prequel to Sweet Home, Shotgun Boy, was drawn by a different artist named Pil Hong. Having the same artist doesn't mean anything. The new series is still currently untitled. Carnby has stated, quote, "Since the title might give away the story in advance, I plan to reveal it right before serialization," which is very interesting because from his other posts, the next thing we know is that the story is about a man tracking down a serial killer. So the title is likely going to be related to the solution of the mystery somehow. The other facts that we have in writing are that the story is not BL. That was definitely a question weighing on everyone's minds. And despite Carnby claiming to not like thrillers, this story is once again a thriller. Apparently it's also, quote, "a little weird." I personally wouldn't describe any of his works as normal to begin with, but that's interesting coming from him. The last comment he's made on the series is that it has a lot of scenes that are difficult to express, and he hopes the artist can do a good job on them. Obviously, action or really emotional moments can be difficult to draw, but this might also be about the mystery of the series itself. This is a really random comparison, but it makes me think of the Decagon House Murders by Ayatsuji. You know, the author of Another, or that one guy from the BSD side stories. Spoilers for the story. The book follows a group of people being murdered on an island and 3 people solving a different mystery on mainland Japan simultaneously. The plot twist is that the killer from the island was actually one of the 3 people we were following on the mainland, and by simply using his real name versus his nickname, it was able to stay hidden until the end. However, the book was later adapted into a manga, meaning now that we could see the characters, the twist became much more difficult to pull off. To make it work, the artist instead changed the characters' hair, outfit, and general demeanor, just enough so that it wasn't obvious they were the same person, but for it to still be believable by the end. That balance is really hard to strike, and this comment from Carnby makes me think some similar level of shenanigans might be happening in the new story. Along with the comments he's made about the story, Carnby has also shown some panels from the manhwa. There's only 13 of them, but nonetheless, I think we can put together a rough idea of what's going on. The story seems to revolve around an artist or art. One panel we are given is of an artwork being sold at auction for 1 billion won, or roughly 730,000 USD. It's clearly a very valuable piece of art, and with the background and auctioneer, the whole thing looks legit and not like a black market sale. There's also a panel of what looks to be an art studio, and according to Google Translate, a character talks about an exhibition. That character is actually our main character, but we don't have a name for him yet. In one panel, we see him holding something. A canvas would have the frame at the back, but you can buy canvas panels that are flat at the back like this. Either way, it looks like something you'd either draw on or store a drawing inside. Considering it looks a bit beat up and he's just walking around the street with it, I'd say it's his and not an artwork he bought from someone else. He talks about his classmates going to an exhibition, so he's likely currently or at some point was studying art. As for other characters, there's this brown-haired man. We see him talking to our main character over 3 panels. First, they're just talking casually. Then our main character looks up and smiles at him, then the brown-haired man looks pretty shocked. The sound effect over these 2 panels sounds like a heartbeat. It's usually used in high-tension or romantic situations, but considering this was the part Carnby said wasn't BL, I think we can assume it's the former. In which case, I think one of 2 things is happening here. Either A, the brown-haired character is a friend friend, the main character has just told him something wild and he's shocked, or B, the brown-haired guy is someone we can't trust and the main character revealed that he knows about something he's done, hence the shock. Option B seems like a really important scene to randomly drop on Instagram, so I personally would lean towards A. Maybe he's an old classmate of the main character. The other character we see is a very creepy doctor, based on the scrubs and white coat. If your doctor is making that face at you, you know you're fucked. Either they're about to name a disease after you, or they're going to kill you themselves. There's no more info than that to work with, so I'm just gonna stick a big, probably up to no good label on the doctor and leave it at that. The last few panels we get are more of the main character looking shocked, reading a guest book and looking into a doorway. Not much we can gather from those. Along with the 13 panels, Carnby has also revealed 2 sketches of scenes from the manhwa. The first is of a girl staring at something and saying it looks quite beautiful. You'd think she's just looking at an artwork, but she's sweating a lot and doesn't look too happy. I'd say she's looking at something a lot scarier than just a regular old painting. The second is of someone who I can only assume is our serial killer removing someone's head. Notice the markings on their arms and legs. It looks like stitching, like they've been pieced together. Which brings me to my prediction of what I think the series will be. I think our main character is the one behind the sale of the 1 billion won artwork, but I don't think he actually painted it. Maybe he picked it out of the trash or stole it, but he claims it's his, people like it gets put in an exhibition and sold. However, the real artist isn't too happy about that, and now they're going around picking off everyone who attended its auction. Most notably our main character and his classmates. Because he feels responsible for what's going on and also would rather not be killed, our main character now has to catch the killer before they catch him. However, there's something very weird about all the crime scenes. Every victim is dismembered and has parts of their body missing. These parts are the medium for the killer's next work of art. They're collecting them and stitching them together to create one quite beautiful new figure. And for the really delusional part, I think the twist will be that the killer could quite literally be anyone at any point in the series, as they've found a way to replace their own body parts with their victims. Maybe they're working with that creepy doctor. Stuff like fingerprints and DNA of dead people will be found at crime scenes. And our main character won't even be able to trust the people close to him because the killer could very well have taken their faces. I think that's a sufficient level of weird, thrilling, and hard to draw shenanigans. But Carnby's works are far from predictable, so I'm sure I'm nowhere near the truth. Finally, when will this be released? Carnby has stated that he will do his best to publish it sometime in 2025. However, the artist does unfortunately suffer from health issues, and so they have to work at a slower pace. But they seem to be drawing the entire series, or at least a large portion of it, before its serialization. A lot of manhwa are actually drawn week by week, or only a few chapters in advance. So if the author or artist suddenly has problems, they can go on hiatus for God knows how long. By drawing a lot in advance, they can avoid this. So while it's taking more time to initially release, it's so much more worth it for the staff and readers in the long run. I, for one, am happy to patiently wait. Thank you for your time.